Friends, hi, it's Valerie Ling here. I'm a clinical psychologist and I have lots of different projects that I run. One of it being the Center for Effective Living, which is a psychology practice, the Center for Effective Serving, which is a workplace well-being practice. And who would have thought that years ago when I started to talk about this thing called burnout, probably as early as 2018, which is when my free ebook, which you can get from my website, valerieling.com. Yes, valerieling.com. You can actually download my free ebook. When I started to talk about burnout, who would have known that fast forward to the year 2022 and everybody is talking about burnout, pandemic fatigue, exhaustion, and it is the hot topic of the moment. And there are all these different opportunities to be a guest on podcasts and radio this morning to talk about what is happening. Uninteresting trends and new things coming up, like quiet quitting, which was a TikTok, as I understand, a phenomenon where someone got on and basically said, guys, I am quiet quitting. What do I think about it? Here are my thoughts. I think quiet quitting, which essentially is about when you're at work pulling back and not resigning, but kind of being resigned to not doing quite as much and not hustling and, making sure that you're not overcommitting in work and all of that. Now, it sounds like an excellent thing to pursue quiet quitting, but is it really helpful and is it really healthy? Here's what I think. Quiet quitting really is a symptom, isn't it? It's an attitude, if you like, and it tells us that something's not quite right. If we're going to take an attitude of pulling back and quietly going about our work in a subpar way, something can't be right. So the first thing that I want to say is it is an indicator. It's something that's giving us information that something is not quite right. But what is that something? So let me just say that work in and of itself is not a bad thing. Human beings are designed to actually feel good and to feel healthy and to feel well when we're productive, when we're achieving, when we are doing meaningful things, and when we go to work, we're also connected to community. So it's not unusual, for example, to find that when someone has been retrenched and they haven't been able to find work for extended periods of time, that their mental health can suffer. And that is largely because there's a sense of not achieving and feeling lonely and not having their days structured by productive things. So work in and of itself gives us positive things. When we actually look at some of the positive attitudes that we can have to our work, we can feel like we are engaged. We are using our gifts and our strengths and our talents, and we're able to apply ourselves to produce outcomes and to achieve. And achievement is very important for mental health. It's one of the things we have to establish. If you're very depressed, a small act of getting out of bed is an achievement, and we name that achievement and we say, take that small step and take that small step tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. So providing us with achievement, work does that. Like I said, work provides us with community. It provides us with corridor conversations. It provides us with friendships. There are people that we can have lunch with. There are people that we can have a bit of a chuckle about. There are people that we can vent to about. There are other human beings in our work environment. And here's the thing. Work also extends our perspective and gives us a sense of other person centeredness. That is, we do it for the team, we do it for our clients, we do it for our leaders, we do it for the community that we're serving. And it provides us with a perspective that helps to extend whatever it is we may be going through in our personal life. How many people have I spoken to where their marriages aren't going so well, or they've got some health concerns, but when they turn up for work, it's an environment that's predictable, an environment that provides them with positive things that they can focus on. But here's the thing, like any relationship, our relationship with work can be impacted to the point where we feel like our only option is quiet quitting. What can impact that? First of all, our own personal approach to our work. Do we have expectations that are really high of ourselves when we're at work? Are we perfectionistic? Are we actually so goal driven that we don't know when to stop? We're afraid that if we were to stop, that emptiness and that quiet that will dawn upon us will make us feel like failures. Is our identity really fused with our work such that when you're not actually working on things, when you're not producing, when you're not doing, that you feel like you are not the human being that you are meant to be, and worse, that you're disappointing others, right? So two personal qualities that tend to drive the burnout factor is when we have unrelenting standards and expectations of ourselves, and we have a tendency to feel like we're not enough, not good enough, and what we're doing is not enough. Now, that in itself can produce exhaustion or fatigue, not necessarily burnout. So I think the little bit of the TikTok video, or at least the one that I caught, I think is speaking a little bit into the personal exhaustion factor when, they talk about buying into hustle culture and, continuously overcommitting yourself to projects and obligations because we personally feel driven to do that, or we question our worth. The relationship has another factor in the equation, and that is our workplace. Now, if your workplace, if your leadership and your management are causing great difficulties for you, if your job is too extensive, not undefined, continuously projects being put into your lap, without a real resourcing picture, without realistic project timelines, if you have really demanding clients and customers, if the reward of your work isn't there, such that you're feeling undervalued, such that you're feeling like, like genuinely you're being told, or you're being given the message that you're not worth even the salary that you've been paid. If there's a toxic culture, and it's not just you that's suffering under the weight of this culture, but your peers, your colleagues, there's a high level of people being absent, people coming late, really tuning out. There's no creativity in the work. There's no sense that it's possible for us to do quality work because we are being crushed by the workplace. Now, that's another factor that can cause someone to feel like they need to quietly quit. So really, when it comes to quiet quitting as being a symptom, it could be personal exhaustion. It could be a really poor workplace environment that you're in that you need to get out of, or it could be the relationship that you have, your personal relationship with your workplace and vice versa. And like any relationship, subversive tactics aren't necessarily going to help. If we are passive aggressive, if we build resentment, if we're kind of just playing along and, just kind of going along with the flow, well, the relationship isn't going to flourish, right? So what can we do? Number one, if it is personal exhaustion and your workplace by and large is okay, but your own standards and your own requirements for yourself, and it's pervasive, and even before the pandemic, but now it's worse, and you're just finding that you're constantly feeling the need to do, well, we might need to work on ourselves to figure out some of those mindsets that we might have, some of those expectations we might have on ourselves. If it is your workplace, if you're having difficulties with management, if you're having difficulties with the workload, if the role is unclear and you're not quite sure what is expected of you, well, you can actually engage the work environment to see if you can negotiate or adjust. And I think it's really important that workplace flexibility and an inquiry on workplace well-being kicks in here. It's really important. Employers, more than ever in this climate, need to understand that when the personal load is impacting, what can we do in the workplace to listen to the needs of our employees so that the relationship between the employee and the employer doesn't have to be resentful, subversive, or even lead to a complete breakdown? So, like any relationship, yes, we've got to work on self, but we've also got to work on the relationship and find the avenues to dialogue, negotiate, and figure things out. If you'd like an opportunity to just work with me for 8 weeks starting August 25th on a program called Resource Me, something that I've run every year since I think 2018 perhaps, and which has helped people to work through exactly what I've said. What are the personal resourcing needs that we have, and how can we actually align those and feed those? What are the work needs? And we actually do a workplace audit, right? We actually go deep and we answer some questions and we figure out in the 6 domains of work. What's your safest bet? Where can you actually have the conversation? Where can you actually have a safe conversation? Where is the most likely place you can start? And even to the point of figuring out, is this an environment that you have to not quietly quit, but quit? There is a time and a place for that to quit. And the hard thing for those of us who are sacrificers and overachievers, we just don't know. We don't know when to pull the plug. We need help. We need assistance. Let me be that person for you. 8 weeks online, Resource Me. You'll find the link in the comments. Take care.